The story of this young warrior is one of the most interesting tales of World War II. While most kids of his age desired new bicycles, comic books, or the thrill of sneaking into a movie theater, he longed for a rifle, a uniform, and a place on the front lines. And there was nothing in the world that could stop him from doing it. Not his mother, not the Marine Corps, not even the Japanese soldiers who sought to kill him. He was indestructible. The Great Depression might have been one of the most difficult periods in the history of the United States, but it was undoubtedly a time that gave birth to some of America's bravest sons. Jacqueline Harold Lucas was one of them. Born in 1928, just a year before the stock market crash, Jack grew up in Plymouth, North Carolina. Like many kids at the time, Jack, too, had a difficult childhood and was forced to grow up fast. His father died when he was only 10, leaving him, his brother, and his mother to fend for themselves. His mother was a tough, hard-working woman, but she struggled to manage Jack's restless nature. The boy had a fiery temper and would never back down from anyone or anything. Because of that, she decided to send Jack to Edwards Military Institute, a military prep school for boys located in Salemburg, Sampson County, North Carolina. The institute specialized in instilling structure and discipline into young boys, particularly for students from single-parent or broken homes. And that was precisely what Jack needed. He was proud to wear a uniform and enjoyed the sense of order and belonging to something bigger than himself. It was here that Jack learned about the Pearl Harbor attack. Like most other boys from this institute, he was also deeply affected by the terrifying images of the treacherous Japanese attack. So much so that he immediately wanted to join the fight. The only problem was he was 14 when it happened. But Jack was not someone who backed down easily. He forged his mother's signature, claimed he was 17, and joined the Marines. Being 5'8" and 180 pounds with a muscular build, no one questioned his age. His first stop on the path to war was basic training compound at Parris Island. The training was tough, but Jack handled every challenge even though he was still a boy. He performed so well that he quickly gained the respect of older Marines. After basic, Jack was first assigned to the 21st Replacement Battalion and soon after to the 25th Replacement Battalion. He trained at Camp Lejeune, where he qualified as a heavy machine gun crewman. Jack worked with Browning 30 and 50 caliber guns, enjoying the power of these weapons and the role they played in the squad. Then, one day after the training was over, troops received order to pack their gear and board the trains bound for California. Jack and 9 other Marines, being the youngest, were ordered to stay. However, Jack refused to accept this. Determined to fight, he grabbed his sea bag and boarded the train anyway. The battalion traveled across the country to Camp Elliott near San Diego. Upon arrival, during roll call, Jack stepped forward and said, "I'm supposed to be here." The officer looked him over and added his name to the list. By this point, Jack had broken ranks twice to fulfill his wish, to get in the war and fight. From Camp Elliott, Jack's unit received orders to ship out. On November 4th, 1943, they boarded a transport and headed for Hawaii. Jack was getting closer to the war, but then an accident happened that threatened to end Jack's warpath. While stationed in Hawaii, Jack wrote a letter to his girlfriend in which he mentioned he was only 15. Jack overlooked the fact that all letters at the time were subject to censorship. The censors caught the detail and reported it. When word got to his commanding officers, they were stunned. Jack had been through full Marine Corps training. Despite his age, not only was he keeping up, he was leading. However, rules were rules, and Jack was removed from his unit and sent to a holding station in Hawaii, pending possible discharge. For Jack, this was devastating. He hadn't come all that way just to go home without seeing combat. Summoned for questioning, Jack again lied, claiming his mother had no objections to his Marine service, provided he returned to school afterwards. He even assured the officers that if discharged, he would promptly join the Army, giving them the benefit of his excellent Marine training. Ultimately, Jack was allowed to stay, but not in a combat unit. He was reassigned to the 6th Base Depot of the 5 Amphibious Corps at Pearl Harbor, where he was given the humiliating task of driving a trash truck. Little did his commanding officers know, Jack was not ready to abandon his dream of combat. He soon devised a bold plan. Jack had heard the 5th Marine Division was preparing to ship out. Although their destination was a closely guarded secret, he firmly believed they were headed to the front lines. His plan was simple: board their ship and blend in. On January 9, 1945, he casually walked out of the tent city, leaving everything behind him. His gear, uniform, belongings, everything. At Pearl Harbor, he spotted a Higgins boat transporting Marines to the USS Deuel. Acting confidently, he stepped onto one of the boats as if he belonged. No one questioned him. Upon reaching the USS Deal, he followed another Marine up the gangway onto the ship. Aboard the vessel, Jack met his cousin Sam Lucas, who served with the 1st Battalion 26 Marines. Although not on the ship's manifest, he quickly figured out how to blend in. Observing carefully, he soon learned how to secure meals and find places to sleep on deck without drawing attention of sentries. Meanwhile, Private First Class Jack Lucas was declared UA, unauthorized absence. If he didn't appear at his unit within 30 days, he would be listed as a deserter. And because of that, on the 29th day at sea on February 8th, Jack decided it was time to come clean. Turned himself in to Captain Robert Dunlap, who took him to Lieutenant Colonel Dan Pollock, commander of the 1st Battalion 26 Marines. Pollock looked at the stowaway and said, "You're causing me a lot of administrative trouble, but I wish I had a whole boatload of men that wanted to fight as bad as you do." Jack asked to join his cousin's unit, the 126th. Pollock agreed. 2 days later, on February 10th, Jack was listed as a deserter and demoted to private. However, Pollock's report cleared things up and Jack got his rank back. Even better, he was finally going to see some action. And what action it would be. The 5th Marine Division was sent to Iwo Jima. On February 19, 1945, Jack Lucas experienced what war looked like. It was a brutal baptism by fire. The first landing vehicles reached the shore around 0900 hours, initially meeting almost no resistance from the Japanese. However, once the beach was crowded with American troops, the Japanese unleashed devastating artillery, mortar, and small arms fire from hidden underground locations. Jack Lucas wasn't part of this first wave. He boarded his landing craft at 1100 hours, but could clearly see from a distance the carnage that was going on at the beach. Jack's company reached the shore at 1500. As soon as he stepped off the ramp, he sank up to his chin in the muddy volcanic ash. It was true hell on earth. Bullets zipped past his head. Mortar rounds exploded everywhere, and bodies littered the beach. Jack understood immediately that his only hope of survival was to keep pushing forward, and so he did. After hours of brutal combat, the Marines finally secured a beachhead. Jack survived. At one point, he was ordered to retrieve a machine gun from the beach. He and another Marine dragged the heavy cart through the soft ash as shells exploded around them. They both emerged without a scratch. In the following days, the Marines moved inland. Jack was assigned to a 4-man fire team in order to move north close to Airfield 1. Progress was slow and dangerous as the enemy was everywhere, hidden in bunkers and trenches. As Jack and his team pushed forward, they reached 2 trenches dug just in front of an enemy bunker. They jumped into the first trench, unaware of what awaited them in the second. When their team leader leaped across into the other trench, he landed on top of a Japanese soldier and quickly jumped back. It turned out that there were 11 Japanese soldiers in that second trench just a few yards away from the trench where Jack's fire team was. With their cover blown, both sides immediately opened fire. Jack shot 2 enemy soldiers before his rifle jammed. As he ducked down to unjam his weapon, Jack noticed 2 grenades landing in the trench. Instinctively, he shouted, "Grenade!" and pushed his BAR gunner out of harm's way. Realizing he had only seconds to act, Jack grabbed his rifle, slammed a grenade deep into the ash, and dropped his body on it. At the same time, he used his right hand to push the second grenade beneath him deeper into the volcanic sand. Moments later, the first grenade exploded, throwing Jack into the air. He landed on his back. Shrapnel tore through his body, and blood poured from his chest and leg. His right arm was pinned and numb, still holding the second grenade that didn't explode. Jack fought to stay conscious, praying to God to save his life. Believing he was dead, his teammates moved forward, leaving him behind. Jack lay there for what felt like an eternity. Fortunately, another company arrived and a Marine spotted Jack's fingers moving. The corpsman rushed and began treating his wounds. One of Jack's eyes popped out and the corpsman had to put it back in place. As he tended Jack's injuries, a Japanese soldier suddenly emerged from a tunnel carrying a grenade. Barely conscious, Jack managed to mutter, "Kill him! Kill him!" Without hesitation, the corpsman grabbed his carbine and shot the enemy soldier dead. Jack's condition was critical, but mortar shells were still falling all around. They had to wait before stretcher bearers could reach them, and when they came, they ran him to the beach where Jack was given more morphine, blood, and penicillin. They even poured some brandy in his mouth to ease the shock. Jack sustained more than 250 wounds to his body. He was lucky to be alive. When night fell, he was evacuated by Amtrak to a barge, then to an LST vessel. As the barge fought the rough seas, Jack almost slipped in the water, but a sailor grabbed his leg at the last moment. It just wasn't his day to die. After Jack recovered from his wounds aboard the hospital ship Samaritan, his fierce fighting continued on Iwo Jima. For him, the war was over after only 5 days of fighting. He remembered how proud he was to witness the Star-Spangled Banner flying atop Mount Suribachi. He was grateful that he had ever played a part in making that moment possible. On March 28, 1945, Jack was brought to San Francisco, where he went through 21 surgeries. About 200 shrapnel pieces remained in his body for the rest of his life, a lasting memory of his bravery on Iwo Jima. September 18, 1945, Private First Class Jack Lucas was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps. The mark of attempted desertion was removed from his record. After discharge, the first thing Jack wanted to do was see his girlfriend. However, his plans were interrupted by a call from President Harry Truman. In an official ceremony October 5, 1945, Jack Lucas, along with 10 other Marines and 3 soldiers, were presented the Medal of Honor. At the time, he was just 17 years, 7 months, and 21 days old, becoming the youngest recipient of America's highest military award since the Civil War. After the war, Jack kept his promise to his mother and finished college, earning a degree in business. However, he was not suited for civilian life. In 1961, Jack Lucas joined the Army, the 82nd Airborne. Jack had a fear of heights and wanted to overcome it by becoming a paratrooper. During his service, he reportedly survived a jump in which both of his parachutes failed to open properly. Truly, the man was indestructible. In 1965, he volunteered to serve in Vietnam, but the military decided he'd already done enough. Jack ended his military career as a captain at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Jack Lucas passed away in 2008 from leukemia. 8 years later, it was announced that an R. Lee Burke-class destroyer, the USS Jack H. Lucas, would be named in his honor. The nation has found a fitting way to repay the extraordinary service of one of its youngest and bravest heroes. Thank you for watching this episode. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the Militology Channel. Stay tuned.